pleased to bring to the stage a man who needs no introduction. He is the national co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign and president of Repairers of the Breach. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Dr. William J. Barber.
Hello, Women's March. I come to you today in the spirit of the God who is a mother to the motherless. I come to you today thankful for Natasha and Tamika and Linda and Carmen and Bob and all of you who are here. I come today as a national chair, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival, the president of Repairers of the Breach. I come to you today in the spirit of Harriet Tubman, who said, I would fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted, and if the time came for me to go. I come in the spirit of Mother Jones, who said, pray for the dead, but fight like hell for the living. I come in the spirit of Ella Baker, who said, in order for us as poor and oppressed people to become a part of a society that is meaningful, the system under which we now exist has to be radically changed. I come to you in the spirit of Coretta Scott King, who taught us that abuse to women is violence, but starving a child is also violence, neglecting school children is violence, punishing a mother and her family is violence, discrimination against a working person is violence, ghetto housing is violence, ignoring health care is violence, contempt for poverty is violence, and an apathetic attitude that refuses to do anything is also violence. I come to you today in the spirit of my mother, Eleanor Barber, who was the first black woman to integrate public schools in Washington County and still gets up every morning at 83 years old and goes to work. And I asked her, why are you going to work? She said, they didn't want me when I came here. Now I'll leave when I get ready. I come to you today as a man who has known abuse. I come to you today in the spirit of Roz Pellis, the manager of the Poor People's Campaign, and Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, the co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival. And I come to you in the spirit of all the women from America to Africa to Asia to Mexico to Europe, wherever they are. And I come to you in the spirit of Tyler, who I met on the plane late last night from Chicago, who's here in the crowd somewhere. And I come here to declare that if Sojourner Ain't Our Woman Truth and Frederick Douglass and Lucretia Mott, a Quaker, and William Lord Garrison, an abolitionist, could form a coalition to fight for women's suffrage and change America in 1800, so can we. I come here to declare that if Diane Nash and Rosa Parks and Joan Baez and Viola Luisa and Martin Luther King and Rabbi Heschel could form a coalition to change America in the 1960s, so can we. We must know that down through history, those who have promoted sexism and violence against women have more often than not also stood on the side of racism and homophobia and religious tyranny and fascism and greed and systemic poverty. Truth is, to be anti-woman is to be against democracy. It is to be anti-justice. It is to be against our deepest moral and religious values. In a nation where women are 35% more likely than men to be poor in America. Women account for 60% of low-wage workers. Together with children, women account for 70% of the nation's poor. Refusing to address poverty and giving welfare tax cuts to the greedy at the expense of the poor and working poor is anti-woman, anti-family, anti-America, and it's immoral. Denying health care is anti-woman, anti-family, anti-American, and immoral. And I'm not just talking about the Affordable Care Act. I'm talking about universal health care for every human being as a human right. Participating in voter suppression that allows extremists to cheat in order to get into office is anti-woman, anti-family, anti-American, and immoral. Attacking labor rights is anti-woman, anti-family, anti-American, and immoral. Refusing living wages is anti-woman, anti-family, anti-American, and immoral. Refusing the right of immigrants in a country made up of immigrants. And a group of people talking about meritorious immigration and deciding that they want to put rules in place that their own grandmama, who was an immigrant, couldn't have passed. It's anti-woman, anti-family, anti-American, and immoral. So we must stand together. And I come to my sisters to say the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival, stands with the Women's March and your goal to transform America and to have a massive voter mobilization of 1 million new registered voters and to take the power to the polls. On Mother's Day, we will launch the Poor People's Campaign with 40 days of nonviolent civil disobedience, direct action, power building, and voter mobilization. With the poor and moral leaders in 25 state capitals and in Ryan and McConnell's office. Our first action will be standing against policies that exacerbate child poverty and cut money for public education. Truth is, my sisters, it's movement time in America. Anytime the nation with a race-driven electoral college turns the presidency over to a narcissistic, egotistical racist that loses by 3 million votes, it's movement time. It's movement time. Anytime the very politicians in the Congress that have claimed Trump is not stable set aside their assessment and push his agenda, it's movement time. We can't wait 4 years. We have to move extremists now out of the Congress and out of state houses. Do you know that if we registered 30% of the black voters in the southern states and connected those with white people that are progressives and Latino, Alabama doesn't have to be an anomaly. We can win in Florida and Georgia and North Carolina and Texas and Mississippi. We need a mid-year election turnout like never before. It's movement time. And so finally, since it's Sunday, I come here today as a preacher in the prophetic tradition and in the spirit of a woman in the Bible named Deborah. Deborah was a woman in the Bible, in the book of Judges. The nation in her day was under assault by a loudmouth, egotistical, abusive, narcissistic, lying leader named Sisera and his army. But Deborah wasn't scared. Some of the men didn't want to take on Sisera. They were willing to accept what was going on, but Deborah said, it's time to fight. So she had one message for those who wanted to save the soul of the nation. It was, get up. And I say to you today, we've been crying and whining long enough, talking about what happened in 2016. It's time to get up and make something happen. It's time to get up and register everybody you know to vote. It's time to get up and take the power to the poll. Instead of deporting immigrants, we need to deport some of these politicians out of their office. It's time to get up. If we ever needed to vote, we sure do need to vote now. And anybody that doesn't vote, my grandmama had a word for you. It's called trifling. It's time to get up and know that love can win, and justice can win, and righteousness can win when we organize, black and white and brown and red and yellow and old and young and Jewish and Muslim and Christian and those who do not have a faith but they believe in a moral agenda. It's time to get up, gay and straight. No more fighting each other. Let's fight racism. Let's fight sexism. Let's fight the extremists. It's time to get up and demand justice for all. It's time to get up because we are the people that know we can take a word like shithole and turn it into fertilizer and grow a new movement. It's time to get up and vote people out of office who do wrong. It's time to get up and speak truth to power. And if I could channel my inner hip-hop, we ain't meant to survive because it's a setup. And even though you're fed up, you got to keep your head up. Oh, child, it's gonna get easier. Oh, child, it's gonna get better. Ooh, ooh, child, things are gonna get brighter because we're gonna get up. Get up, get up, get up.